Hello, this is Marisela Herrada from the Instituto Tecnológico de Tlajomulco. And this video explores angiosperm diversity under the direction of Dr. Carlos Arias Castro. In the next 20 minutes, I'll talk about angiosperms, covering their characteristics, how we classify them, flower parts, the flower formula, plus the pollination and its syndromes. So kick back and enjoy the ride. I'm so excited to explore the fascinating world of angiosperm plants. Did you know that most of 90% of land plants are angiosperms? Well, to begin, we must answer the question, what is an angiosperm plant? Well, we can quickly describe an angiosperm plant as a flowering plant which eventually will become a fruit. But this isn't enough to describe them. Only several characteristics combined together will distinguish angiosperms. Angiosperms have their ovules inside an additional cover, the pistil, have double fertilization, and at the end of life cycle, the flowering plant develops the fruit. I know. I can see what your thoughts are. How about we take a break and focus on the basics? The different parts of a flower. Shipanov proposed a way to classify the parts of flowers in three categories. Number one, perianth, the sterile part. Number two, androecium, the male part. Number three, gynoecium, the female part. The perianth is the sum of two parts, the calyx and the corolla. The calyx consists of the green structures of the flower, while the corolla includes the colorful parts. We'll begin with the green section, the sepal, also known as the calyx of the flower, situated in the lower part. Remember, it has been assigned the letter K for its identification of the flower formula that we will explore later in this video. Don't worry. Now, let's talk about the colorful aspect of the flower, the petal, also referred to as the corolla. It has been assigned the letter C for quick identification. Sometimes the distinction between sepals and petals isn't clear, making it hard to classify them. In such cases, we use the term tepals, assigned with the letter P. Tulips serves as notable example of this phenomenon. Continuing with the sterile part of the flower, let's focus on the receptacle, often referred to as the base of the flower. From time to time, the receptacle takes a cube-like shape. In such instances, we refer to it as a hypanthium. We can observe this in the image presented by Shipenap. Now, let's dive into the male segment of the flower, denoted by the letter A. Yes, every time we see an A in the flower formula, we are talking about the structures that are part of the male part. Don't forget it. One of those structures is the anther, the structures that holds pollen grains. Beneath the anther, there is an extended connection structure linking it to the receptacle. This component is recognized as the filament. Concluding the male components of the flower, there is a concept that involves both the filament and the anther. It is known as the stamen. So, stamen means both the filament plus the anther. Now, let's explore the female part, which is the most complex aspect of the flower. Initially, we need to clarify three concepts: pistil, carpel, and gynoecium. All three relate to the female part and are sometimes used as synonymous. However, there is a slight difference that we need to clarify. First, when we mention the carpel, we specifically refer to the structure enclosing ovules, right? In some instances, a flower might have only one carpel, in which case the term pistil is synonymous with carpel, right? Both are the same. Yet, flowers can also possess two or more carpels, or even fused carpels. In such scenarios, pistil becomes the collective term for the carpel. And gynecium is a synonym of pistil and carpel, no matter how many carpels do we have. The upcoming slides will provide additional information to clarify it. Don't worry. In this picture, we have the entire gynecium, pistil, or carpel, whatever you want to call it. It consists of four distinct structures: the stigma, style, ovary, and ovules. Let's dive deeper into the carpel. The carpel, comprising all four structures that we saw before, can take on three different morphologies. The previous slide illustrated a monomer representing a single carpel. However, we can also observe syncarpy, where two or more carpels are fused, as we can appreciate in this picture. Furthermore, there is apocarpy, involving two or more infused carpels. As mentioned earlier, we can use the term pistil to refer to any of these, but it doesn't imply equivalence among the carpels. Now that we understood the global term of carpel, let's talk about the four specific structures. First, it is the stigma, positioned at the upper part of the flower. This serves as a receptive surface of pollen, initiating the process of pollination. Here we have the ovary, the structure that houses the ovules. Due to its significance, let's take a closer look at its structure. Come on. This is a cross section of an alien ovary. The red circle highlights the locule, a chamber that houses ovules. In this closer examination of the locule reveals the presence of ovules. The placenta is the place of attachment of ovules within the ovary. Now that we've finished the parts of a flower, it's time to talk about the flower formula. Yay! Since there are so many terms about flowers, the flower formula helps us to make the flower description more compact. To make the flower formula, every part of the flower is designed with letters, numbers, digits, and other features. Flower symmetry can be classified in three ways. Radial symmetry, represented by an asterisk, applies to flowers with more than two planes of symmetry. Flowers with radial symmetry are called actinomorphic. Flowers exhibiting bilateral symmetry possess a single plane of symmetry, represented by an upward arrow, and are referred to as zygomorphic flowers. Flowers can also present an asymmetric morphology, and it is represented with a Z letter. Remember, K is the calyx, C is the corolla, A is the androecium, and G is the gynecium. The position of the ovary can change between flower. It can be superior or inferior. In the flower formula, brackets indicate fusion, commas, inequality, and multiplication, splitting. Here we have an example of a flower formula. This formula means that we have an actinomorphic flower with four sepals, four petals, and six stamens in two whorls. Ovary superior with two fused carpels. Another way to describe the flower is the flower diagram. This is a kind of cross section of the flower. Frequently, the structure of the pistil is not shown on the diagram. We have finally learned the most important characteristics of angiosperm plants. Now it's time to explore into classifying the vast array of flowers that exist. To begin, we are going to study the classification of angiosperm based on their flowers. Later in this video, we will explore a different classification based on fruits. Angiosperms can be categorized into two major groups, monocots and eudicots. Monocots possess a single cotyledon, as evident in the picture. In contrast, eudicots have two cotyledons. Monocot plants exhibit parallel venation, noticeable in their leaves. On the other hand, eudicots display a reticulated venation pattern. Monocots exhibit floral structures in multiples of three, whereas eudicots have multiples of four or five. In the first picture, it's evident with three petals, three sepals, three stems, and three stigma lobes. The second picture displays four stigma lobes, eight stamens, and five petals. The final characteristic we will explore is the distinction of their vascular bundles. Monocots have them scattered in concentric circles, as shown in the picture. Eudicots, on the other hand, exhibit radial patterns resembling the spokes of a wheel. Pollination syndromes. While we commonly associate pollination with bees, we will discover that it involves more than just bees. Pollination is the placement or transfer of pollen from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or another flower. Furthermore, pollination is classified into two categories, self pollination and cross pollination. Self pollination occurs between two flowers on the same plant, whereas cross pollination takes place between flowers on different plants. Cross pollination is beneficial for plants as it increases the blending of genes from different plants, enhancing genetic diversity and strengthening the species. This, in turn, increases adaptability to environmental changes and resistance to diseases. Self pollination results in lower genetic diversity as it occurs within the same plants. Given that nature favors diversity, it becomes challenging for a plant to fulfill the requirements for self pollination. Some factors include the need for simultaneous maturation of stamen and carpel, and the absence of nectar production by the plant. Self incompatibility is a term used to describe the mechanisms that a plant develops to prevent self fertilization, thereby increasing its genetic diversity. Plants have developed various methods to avoid self pollination. Here are some examples. Number one, when pollen and the ovary mature at different times. Two, when male and female flowers are born on different plants, known as dioecious plants. Number three, heterostyle, indicating difference in the length of the anther and stigma in the plant. Scientists have studied flowers to predict their pollinators based on their characteristics, which is our next topic to explore, pollination syndromes. Pollination syndromes are different flower morphologies, smells, and colors that correspond to their particular pollen vector. In the upcoming slides, we'll discuss various pollination syndromes based on their specific pollinators. When we miss a pollinator, flowers don't produce nectar, aroma, or vibrant colors. They typically appear dull and their stigma and anthers are often large. In this picture, we have an example, a grass spike. It's easy to appreciate the large stigma and anthers. These flowers typically emerge early in the spring before the leaves to avoid obstructing the wind's movement. Here's another example, the gold willow tree that has big male and female parts, allowing wind pollination. Our second pollinator, butterflies. Since they are attracted to nectar, plants for this group often feature abundant hidden nectar and limited pollen, along with a fresh and subtle aroma. Butterflies are attracted to bright colors and require a tubular landing area. An example is the delphinium flower that we can see here. Our next pollinator, birds. Since they are not attracted to the aroma, plants for this group typically lack scent but have abundant hidden nectar. Birds are attracted to red and pink colors. The flower structure needs to be tubular and cupped, allowing birds to insert their beak. They carry pollen on their neck, and the flowers often have large anthers and stigma. Here are two examples, the fuchsia flower and castilleja, both showcasing vibrant red and pink colors along with very large stamens. Flies differ from other pollinators. They are attracted to putrid and fruity aromas, as well as dark brown and red colors. Flies do not seek nectar, and the flowers they pollinate typically have moderate pollen. They use the flower as a landing spot for feeding or depositing eggs. Consequently, flowers are large and often possess a trap like structure. We can observe these characteristics in the following two examples. Let's discuss buds. They are attracted to flowers that open at night, featuring white, green, purple, and dull colors. Plants for buds typically have abundant hidden nectar. Buds are attracted to strong, fruity, or musky fragrances. The flower structure is either bowl shaped or with pendant flowers, often featuring prominent anthers. A great example is the Crescentia elera flower. Moths. Moths and bats are really similar. Moths also prefer pale colors, strong and sweet aroma, and flowers with a tubular cup structure, along with abundant hidden nectar. The flower structure is flat, as moths don't require a landing spot. Moths hang onto the flower, as you can see in this picture. And finally, we have arrived at the most popular pollinator, bees. Bees seek abundant nectar and are attracted by strong, sweet, and fresh aromas. The pollen of the flowers is highly sticky. One characteristic of plants pollinated by bees is that they possess nectar guides, which are UV parents only perceived by bees and are invisible to humans. These guides serve as a path to the nectar. Malva surgentiflora exhibits these UV colors. On the left side of the picture, we can see the flower as humans do, and on the right side, we see how bees perceive them. Bees relied on a designed landing area for efficient pollination. They also have fine branching hairs covering their whole bodies, as you can see in this picture. So that's why they need this sticky pollen. An interesting fact about bees is that they aren't able to see red colors. Yes, bees cannot see red colors. Consequently, flowers exhibit bright purple, yellow, and pink colors, but not red. We are almost at the end of this video. Now, let's get into the discussion about fruits and dispersal. We have already mentioned that all flowers will develop into fruits. That's very important. But let's delve deeper into the term angiosperm, which originates from two words, vessel and seed. In summary, fruits are an essential part of angiosperm plants, and we require various categories for their classification. The first classification mentioned by Monroe is based on the origin of fruits. We have three categories. Number one, simple fruits, develops from a single carpel or few carpels of a single ovary. Number two, aggregate fruits, develops from more than one carpel in the same flower. And number three, multiple fruits, develops from an inflorescence or cluster of flowers. Fruits can also be categorized as dry or fleshy, leading to classification into dehiscent fruits, which open at maturity, or indehiscent fruits that do not open independently, or sweet carbs, fruits that are intermediate types. Additionally, fruits can be monomerous, originating from one seed, or akin, arising from multiple seeds. In this slide, we observe the structure of a fruit, which is divided into two major parts, the seed and the pericarp. The seed is formed from the ovule of the flower and comprises three components, the endosperm, containing all the nutrients for seed growth, the embryo, and the seed coat, offering protection to the seed. On the other hand, the pericarp originates from the ovary wall and consists of three parts, the endocarp, mesocarp, and exocarp. The epicarp is the fruit skin, which can be thin like in the grapes or thick as it in nuts. It provides protection against microorganisms and desiccation. The mesocarp, the middle layer, varies in texture, being fleshy or dry, depending on the fruit type. The endocarp, surrounding the seed, safeguards the seed from mechanical damage. The fruit has a single purpose, seed dispersal. Seed contained within fruits need to be dispersed far from the mother plant, so they might find less competitive conditions in which to germinate and grow. Fruits promote the dispersal of their content of seeds in a variety of ways. Water. Fruits floating that are carried by water to new locations. For example, the coconut palm. Water. Wind disperses fruit that are lightweight. Sometimes, fruits have a parachute structure to keep floating. Wind disperses fruit that are lightweight. Animal ingestion. The seeds must either survive the digestive tract, deposited later in nutrient-rich substrates, or depends on animals who are sloopy eaters, dispersing some of the seeds as they eat others. In ballistic dispersal, seeds are shot from the fruit. This can be accomplished by the turgor pressure within the fruit. We have finally arrived to the end of this video with animal attachment. The dispersal of their seeds is by sticking to the coat of a passing animal, like this example. Thank you for watching this video and see you next time.